Perhaps the most preposterous podcast clip of all time. Bryce Mitchell, UFC fighter, MMA guy, decides to start a podcast, and episode 1 says the most jarringly hateful, ignorant, stupid shit you have ever heard in your life, coming out and flat out saying that he thinks Hitler was a good dude and someone he would go fishing with.
I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination. I really do think before Hitler got on meth, he was a guy to go fishing with. He fought for his country. He wanted to purify it by kicking the out that were destroying his country and turning them all into gas. They were out the kids. They were out the women. They were out the dudes. They were, you know what her first surgery ever was? Happened to be in Germany before Hitler took over. You know the books that everybody makes fun of Hitler burning? You know what the books was? Books. Hitler burned books because Hitler didn't want a bunch of destroying his nation. They can't produce children.
But what about
when he got on meth and he turned on Russia? I believe that's when he kind of went full nutty. And I don't think that he was just like the best dude ever. And when I say I go fishing with him, I'm not saying he was the most trustworthy.
Now, I'm not even sure how much of this clip we can play on YouTube because I feel like all of these platforms will take this video down because it is such hateful ignorance that it is astounding that someone in the year 2025 came out and said this. I don't care what your politics are, where you're from. You can be a UFC, gladiator, violent, CTE, conservative fucking moron. Coming out and saying this as blunt as he did was crazy. I can't post it all, but the shit he said about Jewish people, gay people, trans people, it was jarring, to say the least. And it was episode 1 of his show. Now, it is one of the hackiest, lamest, stupidest, try-hard things in the world to like spin Hitler, to try to be like, he wasn't a bad guy, he was misunderstood. It's just like, no, just stop. There is no both sides to this. Stop. It's the H-man, okay? All that being said, objectively hilarious to phrase it as a guy I go fishing with. He clarifies at the end. He's like, I'm not saying I love the guy. I'm not saying he's trustworthy. Yeah, you think? You think, dude? He's a genocidal maniac. But he was like, I'd go fishing with him. And there is humor in that. Because as guys, there's like levels to your loyalty and friendship. And, you know, sit in a boat with a line in the water is kind of like the lowest level of friendship in a way, you know? Like, I'll have a beer with him. Is kind of like, yeah, I would sit at the bar with him. I'm not going to go to a place with him, but if he's sitting at the bar with me having a beer, I'm not going to get up and walk, like that kind of stuff, you know? I'll sit in the boat with him. I'll sit at the bar with him. I'm not driving him to the airport. I'm not helping him move. You know, those are the things you reserve for your real friends. While he's sitting there at the bar, you know, sipping a whiskey with a beer, rambling about his, you know, manifesto, I'm going to just roll my eyes and be like, another one, bartender. That's the kind of shit that Bryce Mitchell's saying. I'll sit there while I'm drinking my 30-pack, you know, fishing. I'm not going to kick him out of the boat. That's objectively hilarious. Now, what's even funnier than that was Dana White's response. Dana White hopped on the mic at a press conference and immediately nipped this thing in the bud before even anybody could bring it up. He's like, I know what we're here to talk about. Bryce Mitchell is the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. I mean, it was as funny as a professional commissioner addressing a serious topic can be. Here's some of the clips.
I've heard a lot of dumb, ignorant shit in my day, but this one's probably the worst. Hitler is one of the most disgusting and evil human beings to ever walk the face of the earth, and anyone that even tries to take an opposing position is a moron. That's the problem with the internet and social media. We provide a platform for a lot of dumb, ignorant people. We've obviously reached out to Bryce. When we read what he said, we're beyond disgusted. I will say this, out of all the dumb, ignorant shit I've heard in my life, this has to be the dumbest and most ignorant. He's stupid. He's dumb. You can't fix dumb people. You know what I mean? when you have somebody that's really, really stupid, and that's who we're talking about here, what do? How do you talk sense to a dummy? You don't. That's what everybody wants to hear about punishments. Free speech. I don't have to love it. You don't have to love it. Well, that's the beautiful thing about this business. For all of you that hate Bryce Mitchell, you get to see him hopefully get his ass whooped on global television. I mean, what do you want me to say about it? You know where I am with free speech. We're disgusted by it. I think he's probably one of the dumbest, literally one of the dumbest human beings.
I mean, props to Dana for, officially condemning Hitler. Like, just want it to be known, the UFC, we think that Hitler's disgusting. Check. That's pretty important. I also think it's genuinely an interesting and respect-worthy move that Dana White maintained his stance on free speech while condemning it. He's not punishing him. He's not firing him. He's not canceling him. He's not taking away his money, although some people could argue this was heinous enough that there should be some sort of punishment. Like, if this guy got suspended, if this guy even got kicked out, I think people would understand it. But Dana White has a pretty staunch stance on free speech and didn't want to compromise it for anything. And whether or not you agree with that, I'm not one of these guys who thinks that you can say or do anything and just put it under free speech. Free speech means you're not going to go to jail for it. You're not going to be prosecuted legally for it. It does not mean that there are not repercussions to your actions. And if a private company terminates you, suspends you, kicks you out, whatever, because of extremely dumb and hateful shit you say, that's totally valid. This has sponsorship implications. This has viewership implications. Dana White has every right to be like, get the fuck out of here. But the fact that he was like, how about we let him say whatever he wants? He's stupid. We condemn it. And then we all root for him to get his fucking face caved in at the next pay-per-view. It's the ultimate ball don't lie sort of situation, you know? Like we'll find out if there's any sort of karma in this world. We'll find out if what goes around comes around. Because if he goes out there and wins his next match, there's no good in this world. What should happen is he should get literally slept immediately, just face caved in, teeth on the mat. That would be sweet justice. And Dana White's going to leave it up to the MMA gods. And part of me respects him for that. Again, he could have done whatever, he could have taken action. I don't think anybody would have blamed him. But the fact that he has, beliefs in his league and free speech and sticks to it, I think, you deserve respect with that. In an era where a lot of people cave into pressure, I think Dana White has always stood strong for better or worse. Don't always agree with the situation, but I agree with the fact that he sticks to it and doesn't cave when the going gets tough. Now, he continued to double and triple down on just how fucking stupid he thinks he is with a perfect little anecdote. Like, if you don't know, I don't know who Bryce Mitchell is. This is the first time I've ever heard of him. I can guess the kind of guy he is, but I don't know everything about him. So Uncle Dana hits us with this little anecdote to just to remind the world of how stupid he is, what Bryce Mitchell did to his own nutsack with a power drill.
Let's not forget that this is a guy who took a drill through his nutsack, then had to reverse it and put the drill back out of his. That's the level of stupid that we're talking about here. And I could probably go on for 10 minutes talking about how dumb Bryce Mitchell is.
That's a level of stupid. That checks. Like, if you were to tell me that the guy who drills his own ball sack also thinks that Hitler was a good fishing buddy, I'd be like, yeah, no, that all tracks. Understood. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And then, honestly, what I thought was the best, most real part of Dana's press conference was, the almost the critique of today's society and the internet and social media. Bryce Mitchell has a podcast.
Guess what? Bryce Mitchell has a podcast. But that's the world that we live in now. Dumb people who are really stupid and really ignorant can have a voice. We don't have to agree with it. We don't have to like it. I'm giving you mine and the UFC's position.
He probably fucking shouldn't. But in this world, there are no regulations on who can and cannot have a podcast. And there are barely any regulations on who can and can't be on social media and what you can say on those things. So you're going to have fans. You're going to have listeners. You're going to have people who unfortunately agree with this viewpoint. Now, this is so hateful and stupid that I would imagine and I would pray that this is really really affects him negatively. I would sincerely hope that. Unfortunately, I bet you there are people out there where Bryce Mitchell gained fans, which is, again, you know, what Dana's saying. Like, in this world today, it's a sad state of affairs. You know, it's kind of like Morgan Wallen, you know, goes to #1 after a video of him dropping a racial slur comes out, all because people are like, free speech, you know? So there's a world where there are some pretty extreme assholes and ignorant idiots who are going to maybe, you know, agree with this, side with this. Some fucking people, you know, who think that they know more than you, that they've done their own research, as he says, you know, not indoctrinated, and who will agree with this. I would sincerely hope that for the most part, everybody is like, fuck this dude, don't support him, wish him the worst. But I thought a great performance by Dana White to not only clown him, talk about how stupid he is, stand his ground on how the UFC does business, and then discuss, you know, what he thinks is wrong today with the world of social media, the internet, and the digital era of everybody having an opinion. Kind of tied it up in a nice little bow there for you. So fuck Bryce Mitchell, the dumbest fucking asshole in sports today. I think you can easily give him that crown. An all-time bad guy villain now, and I hope that at his next pay-per-view, you know, he gets absolutely rocked, and it's almost like a career-ending injury. Because a guy like this, while I understand why Dana is not punishing him, a guy like this does not deserve to be a professional athlete, making money, living any sort of dream. I don't know how good of a fighter he is. I hope he's terrible. I hope that this is a short-lived run, and that podcast is short-lived as well. But that's not how these things work out these days. You just got to hope that there is some element of karma out there, that what goes around comes around. So fuck Bryce Mitchell. I think a good job by Dana White, even if you don't necessarily fully agree with him. And that's a doozy. It's going to be a long time before we ever hear of an athlete putting their foot in their mouth to this extreme ever again.